Hi, this is Dovid Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And wherever you are watching or listening, we are so excited to have you along. And we have a sponsor this week, one of our regular participants, Rabbi Orlofsky Show, but they are anonymous, and they are sponsoring the episode as Hakaras Hatov for their family recovering from the coronavirus. Baruch Hashem, you should have many years of health and happiness and Yer Shemayim and all those good things that come along with it. Or in the words of Art Raymond from the Simcha, Art Raymond Simcha, health, wealth, and the time to enjoy it. Yeah, Mitzvah Hashem. Okay, we're at the end of our series. Not that there's not more to say, there's plenty more to say. I keep getting emails asking me to deal with other points or other developments of ideas that I've said before. But we got more to talk about. It's almost Purim. We're going into our Pesach program. So we're going to finish this up. And we're going to finish it up by following through with our idea of getting married, building a bayis ne'eman b'Yisrael, etc. So we talked about figuring out who you are, what you want, building a home that's a mishkan, building a life together. And the final step in this process are children. And we're going to speak a little bit about our approach to children. I'm going to start by saying the following. And I probably have made this point in the past, but it bears repetition. Children are a good thing. That's our approach. Yeah, it's a bracha. You read the stories of Rachel and Leah, how they were hoping, trying to be able to have more children, to be able to bring Yidden into the world. The Aron was stolen by the Plishtim, who suffered a plague, an extremely unpleasant plague, which involved rats entering the body through an orifice where things usually exit from the body. This was extremely unpleasant, I can only imagine. And so they put the Aron on a wagon and said, good luck. And it made its way back to the Jewish people. And finally, Dovid HaMelech, when he made Yerushalayim his capital, went to bring the Aron up. And as the Aron was making its way up to Yerushalayim, Dovid HaMelech was celebrating, dancing. The Jewish people were so thrilled. They finally had back the Aron. I mean, this was years. It was captured, and it was never supposed to go out to battle in the first place. And they took it out to battle against the Plishtim, and it got captured. And Eli died from the shock of it. It was Shiloh was devastated, destroyed. Terrible story. So now we have the Aron coming back. You understand? Until then, you had the Mishkan without the Aron. And on the way, it says, Gemara and Sota, Dovid forgot a halacha that children know, and that is that the Aron is carried on the shoulder. You don't put it on a wagon. In fact, in Parshas Nosai, Rashi says, when the Nesiim donated the wagons, it was divided up between Gershom and Merari, but Kohos didn't get any wagons because theirs were the Kalim, and the Kalim are carried on the shoulder. And Dovid forgot a halacha. And as a result, the wagon began to shake. And Uzzah was afraid that it would tumble over. And he ran over and touched the Aron, and he died. And this, of course, cast a pall over all of the proceedings, and they stopped in Kiryas Yearim. And they left it in a house. And Dovid heard the bracha that this family received. That the wife and her 6 daughters all had 6 tuplets. That's 42 babies. 42 babies is a lot of babies. I want to point this out. For those of you who don't care of babies. There is a comedian by the name of Ray Romano. And he was doing a routine. And he says, me and my wife, we had twins. And you hear applause. He says, that's the single people. The married people were like, wow, we dodged that bullet. I know. My daughter had twins. You don't sleep for a year. It's so hard. Triplets? Sextuplets? 6 babies? 42 babies in the house? And there were no disposable diapers? And Dovid heard of this tremendous bracha, and so of course he realized he had to bring the Aron up right away. I heard Rabbi Reisman say this years ago. Would we consider that a bracha? 42 babies? I got married, and someone said to me, how many children do you plan on having? So I said, as many as the good Lord blesses me with. He says, no, you can't do that. You have to plan it out. It's irresponsible. I said, well, if I end up with a lot of children, maybe that was what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted, because I know people who don't have any children or have 1 or 2 children, that's all they can have. So maybe if I end up with a lot of children, that's what's in Hashem. No, you have to plan it out. I said, okay, how many kids should I have? They said 4. 4 is a good number. She had 4, her sister had 4, her mother had 4. 4 is the right number. So I said, I tell you, I have a problem with that because I'm number 5 in my family. And you could make an argument that my brothers would have had a better life without me. But from my point of view, I'm glad my parents decided not to stop at 4. And my younger brother feels even stronger about it than I do. And Dovid Melech was number 7 in his family. Gee, it would have been a real pity if we missed out on having the Mashiach. So I'm not here, by the way, to lecture or to bully or to tell people what they can handle. I don't know what you can handle. But in absolute terms, children are a bracha. I played Alfred Doolittle in Pygmalion. It was later made into a musical as My Fair Lady, but we performed it in class. A friend of mine was Henry Higgins. I was Alfred Doolittle. We were just supposed to read the play in class, but of course neither one of us was capable of that. So we memorized all of our parts and came in costume and acted it all out. So Alfred Doolittle comes in and asked Henry Higgins for money for his daughter. You took my daughter, you know. So he asked for £5. So they have a whole discussion on morality, and he says, this is too delicious. I'm going to give him £10. And he says, no, that's too much money. It'll start to affect me. Before you know it, people will be asking me for money. You don't have too much money. When the Powerball was $640 million, I was in America with my family, and I bought a Powerball ticket, and then my son bought a ticket. And I said, don't even waste your money. I'm winning. And my son says to me, you're going to win. What would you do with $640 million? And I thought, and I said, well, the first thing I'm going to do is fix up my car. He says, you see, you can't even think to buy a car. $640 million. You're going to fix up your car. You're Rosh Katan. You don't know how to dream. I said, you could spend $640 million. He goes, oh, yeah, no problem. He says, you'll buy all your kids' apartments. You'll buy them all cars. Now what? Go ahead, $640 million. But it's more than that. I have a neighbor who is well off. Purim, he goes away. He can't stay home. People, he can't have Purim with his family. Every yeshiva has people coming in and they're dancing and demanding money. They demand money. Yeah. I was by Rabbi Shapiro in Purim, and one of the Tatim came in. These are these stock organizations for yeshivas, and Rabbi says to him, he goes, "This is a terrible thing. Ze minag meguna ad ma'od. That's not what Purim is for. Purim is matanas la'aniyim, not for yeshivas to go around and collecting." So they fought with him, and and eventually he gave him some money. But he didn't feel that was what Purim was all about. I used to have yeshivas come in here, and they would do the drunk routine and dance around. And I said, "Why should I give you money for a bunch of drunks?" I said, "If you came in here like mentioned, you sat down, you said it's about Torah, madach. So you want to come in here and show me that you know how to drink and you act like animals? So for that, you should give it tzedakah money. For what? So you buy more whiskey." Yeah. Okay. But I'm on my soapbox. That's not my point. Yeah. So I guess some people might feel it's too much to have too much money. I could hear that. Yeah. I don't know. I've worked many, many years to prepare myself for this nisayon, and I tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu all the time, I'm ready for fabulous wealth. I think now I'm ready for it. But the truth is, you have no life. Wealthy people are hounded constantly. They can't walk across the room. It's a tremendous responsibility. One that Baruch Hashem I don't have. Yeah, I'm a simple person. A very wealthy person came to me once and said, I want to, reinvent Kyiv in America. And I said, when you're serious, give me a call. I'll tell you how to do it. But it's going to cost a lot of money. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. I never heard from him again. But, but if you're really serious, I'll tell you what to do, how you're supposed to do it. Yeah. But, because when you're rich, they think you really know. Okay, so not everybody can handle wealth. Not everybody can handle children. I used to have a line, you can't even say it anymore. It's not funny, but how many children do you want? It says 3, 1 of each. So you understand why that used to be funny. Today it's not funny anymore because you don't know how many different genders there are. But okay, how many kids? Okay, so when a person says to me, I can't handle it, I can't handle it. I'm not here to judge. Week and I know her had a lot of kids. And I said, my wife likes babies. She forgets that they grow up, but babies are cute. Some people say to me, you have a lot of children. It's too many. I said, okay, which 2 should I kill? Well, you can't kill them once you have them. You understand that from the kids' point of view, if they never get to be born, or you kill them after they're born, it works out the same way. You're playing God. You decide this kid doesn't have a chance to live. Now, again, I'm not telling you have to have these kids, but you understand that the Jewish approach is that kids are a bracha. Children are a bracha. They're a gift. And they are a sacred responsibility. We get married, we have children, to be able to pass them on. I was working on a book on marriage and Chinuch, and the first chapter is talking about what are your expectations. My parents, when they got married, and they weren't Shomer Shabbos, but they knew they wanted to marry a Jewish person, bring up children, and raise them to be Jews. That was a goal. It wasn't a goal to have a lot of vacations. It wasn't a goal to make a lot of money. It was, you get married, you build a Jewish home, and you raise Jewish children. You raise them in the ideals that we received from our parents and from our grandparents, and that's what we want to try to do. So, somebody said to me, "Wow, how did you have so many children?" I said, "One at a time." My friend Tella has a lot of children, but okay. Had some multiple births over there. I guess that takes a little bit of the edge off, We got them one at a time. And it's a bracha. It's a bracha. Trust me. I spoke for an organization called A Time. People married a long time who don't have children. It's rough. But so you have to decide. Now, if you can't handle it, you can't handle it. And that's not really what I'm not advocating. I'm trying to explain the Jewish point of view. The famous story, where this people were complaining to the Jews, "Oh, you're having too many children." And the fellow said, "When I get to 6 million, I'll stop." Well, the way I put it is, you understand there's a concept called an endangered species. Whether it's a leopard or a spotted owl or whatever it is, you want to try to preserve species. Jews are vanishing. We're an endangered species. We should be raising money to make sure that Jews are having children to be able to keep us around, to preserve the species. We're not back to where we were before World War II. So having children is a good thing. Is it hard? Yeah, definitely hard. There's no question having children. I don't know if it's that much harder having a larger family than a smaller family, because you only have a couple of kids. They drive each other crazy, drive you crazy. You have a lot of them, so instead of the kids playing one parent against the other, you could play the children against each other. Anyway, so children are a sacred responsibility. They are a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He gives them to us. And therefore, we have a mitzvah, Vishinantim Levanecha, to teach your children and to bring them up with values, or what we call Chinuch Banim. Chinuch does not mean education. That's a big mistake that people make. We think Chinuch is learning, facts, details. That's not what Chinuch is. Chinuch is from Chanukas HaMizbeach, Chanukas HaBayis. It's to dedicate. You see that sometimes Chanukah is translated as the holiday of dedication. Chinuch is to dedicate. What does that mean? To raise your children with a sense of purpose. Now, I may have told this story. I don't remember if I told it or not, but I had a question and answer with parents, and all the questions were basically variations of why the educational system is messing up my kid, and I give them all the same answer. I went to school. I started in the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County in 1964. Orthodox Judaism was considered to be dead in America. If you decided to go to an Orthodox school, you were a hero. They couldn't throw you out. They needed you. And they sent you that message that you were part of the elite that are going to be able to keep Judaism alive. That was the message that we received. And we were successful. To the point that today, when a kid goes to school, they get the message overtly or covertly, we don't need you here. Step out of the line and you're out. That changes everything, because it sends a message to a kid, we don't need you. I talk to parents sometimes about kids who are not off the derech, but they're slipping and sliding away. One parent called me up and said, I called up one of these organizations. They said, is your kid on drugs? I said, no. He says, call us back when he is. He's not bad enough yet for us to work with. You know how terrifying that is for a parent to hear. They called me up. I said, get them involved in something. Let them learn with somebody. Let them get involved in a kiruv organization. Partners in Torah. Let them pack lunches for people in the hospital. Get involved in some chesed organization. People want to feel like they're needed. And you have to bring your children up with a sense of purpose and mission. You're in this world for a reason. You're not just here. We discuss at my table all the time hashkafic questions, philosophical questions, different kinds of ideas, and they all have the same purpose. You have a mission in this world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs you to do something in this world. That's why you're in this world. And you have to be dedicated to a cause. So me, I was lucky. I came from a house that wasn't Shomer Shabbos. I ended up getting sent to a yeshiva day school. I ignored everything that was going on until 8th grade. In 8th grade, I had a Rebbe who challenged me. I fought with him. I argued with him. He made more sense than I did. That was the last time that ever happened. And suddenly I found myself recognizing Torah Judaism was correct. And I was beset upon by family and friends. Oh yeah, then why this? Oh yeah, then why that? Why this? And I had to answer questions. I had to think about it. By the time I started Yeshiva Gedola, I knew so much more than the average yeshiva guy because I had to defend what I believed in. As soon as I became frum, I knew I was become a Rav. I'm an extremist by nature. Then I went to Stei Chemed. I had the learning director and my learning Rebbe and my counselor were all from Chavetz Chaim, and they basically told me, you have to go to Chavetz Chaim and become a Rosh Yeshiva. So I said, okay, I'll become a Rosh Yeshiva. Turns out I wasn't really cut out for that. My calling in life was to become a kiruv monster. Okay, so I went in that direction. Then I went to Chinuch. And, but I knew I had to live a life where I'm going to dedicate myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, having said that, I have a friend who's a dentist. He learns more than the average yeshiva guy. But he does implants. That's his area of expertise. And he said, what do you think? I'm a dentist? He says, I do chesed. People walk into my office and they can't eat an apple, and they walk out and they can eat an apple for the first time in years. I do a chesed. So I'm not saying how a person translates that. I had a great-granddaughter, great-granddaughter, Rabbi Newberger, who was the executive director of Ner Yisrael, worked hand in hand with Rav Ruderman building Ner Yisrael. He took his expertise and built a yeshiva, built an empire. So I'm not saying where a person should go or how a person should do it, but it's dedication. And we have to bring our kids up with that sense of mission. You're in this world for a purpose. And that means, I remember speaking to Rabbi Kalish from the Waterbury High School. And he said to me, I said to one of the Rebbeim, where I had some of his boys, I said, do you love these boys? And he says, sure I do. He says, do you respect them? I says, no, I don't respect them. You know, what is there to respect? And he looks at me and he says, but a Rebbe has to respect his Talmidim. He has to be Mechamed them. I have to believe in you. I have to believe that you're in a position to do something special in this world. Rabbi Orlofsky has an expression that I always thought was poignant. He says, children are not nachas machines. They're not there to give you nachas. That's not the job. You have a responsibility to bring them up to the point where they can be responsible adults. Heavy Talmidim Harbe, says the Tosfos Yontif. Stand them on their feet. Rabbi Shapiro used to do this to us all the time, where somebody would ask a question and go, I have to explain everything. You can't figure that out. We went one Chol Moed Sukkos, me and my son, and we were critiquing everything that was going on in the Olam Yeshivas, and Rabbi Moshe did us better on every complaint that we brought. So finally my son says, so what do you do? There's no Rebbeim, there's no Mashkiel, but what do you do? Rabbi Moshe looked at him and said, what do you mean, what do you do? Take responsibility for yourself. But you have to take responsibility. And that's what you have to raise your children to do. I'm a big believer in chores. I grew up with chores. Not just because you need it. Maybe you're very wealthy and you have a staff. I said this once to my wife. I said, Mary Poppins, they had a full-time housekeeper, a full-time cook, and a full-time nanny for 2 kids. We're just understaffed. By that proportion, we need many more people working here, you understand? But not just because of that. Because kids need to feel a sense of responsibility. I don't want to just be a taker. What did I do to prepare for Shabbos? And the more I do, the better I feel about myself. Anytime that I look at something and I have a sense of accomplishment. You ever watch a little kid learning how to walk? They pull themselves up to a dining room table leg, and they go, and then boom, they fall down. And parents go and scoop them up. I know. And they crawl right back to that table leg to try again. Because they know, I'm never going to learn how to walk unless I'm prepared to fall down. I'm never going to succeed unless I try. And the job of the parents is to give children that opportunity. So a parent who says to a kid, forget it, I'll do it myself. You're not doing the kid a favor. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything. Why not? Aren't you part of the family? There's another rule. Yeah, I have a general rule. People will treat you how you let them treat you. When I was teaching, almost never had discipline problems because I made it very clear that I'm not going to be spoken to that way. I don't have to yell at anybody. I just made it clear. You don't talk to somebody that way. I don't talk to you that way, and you don't talk to me this way. Remember, there was one year I was teaching in a seminary, and they sent around a memo. And they said, please read it to your class. And I looked at it. And I said to the girls, I said, I'm going to read this to you, even though I have no idea what this is talking about. No talking during class. No playing on your phone during class. No, eating during class. No, whatever, all these kind of things. I said, I give you all a bracha that all the other teachers in the school should be zoichet to see the way I see you. Because in my class, you don't behave that way. Because I make it clear. I respect you and you respect me. And that's how we communicate. I spoke once for one of these yeshivas for off the derech kids. And they asked me to come back and speak again. And I said, I don't think I can. And they said, why? Yeah, they really liked you. I said, I know, but if I say something they don't like, a kid could stand up and curse me out in front of the class. And they were like, oh, yeah, they could do that. I said, I can't work that way. I wouldn't do it to you. Why would you do it to me? We're talking about mutual respect. So it's not cute when a kid says to their parents, shut up. Not cute. When their parents are like, no. You don't talk to mommy that way. You don't speak to Abba that way. That's not the way you talk. It's a process. I heard somebody on the radio once say, a mother said to me, I don't know, I tell my kid 1,000 times, and they keep doing the same thing. Says, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu's told us 1,000 times to keep the Torah, and we still do Averos. Sometimes you need to hear it 1,001 times. Yeah. I had a problem with one of my kids once. I remember I asked from David Cohen. He said, you have to set red lines. There has to be a line where you say, this is unacceptable. You cannot live in my house if you do this. And he looked at me and he says, but don't look too carefully. My wife has a friend who told her a line. I don't think it was her line either, but it's become part of our mantra in raising children. The goal of parenting is not to raise good kids, it's to raise good adults. That's our obligation. We want to bring up good kids who are going to be good adults. And stuff that's, little children nonsense that schools consider to be the most important thing. The kid didn't hand in his report, didn't do this, didn't do that. Come on. I'm 62 years old. I learned geometry in 10th grade. No one has ever asked me to prove that the base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. I was never in a question and answer. And they said, Rabbi, are the base angles of an isosceles triangle congruent? And I said, yes. But can you prove it? I said, yes, 3 ways. I could drop a line AD, bisect AC. I have the identity postulate of side, side, side. I could split angle A. Oh, wait, it's not important. The point is, so much of the stuff that we get all bent out of shape. Kids don't know, kids don't this. My children went crazy working on so many reports. Where are they today? Were any of them ever published? Okay, listen, I'm not saying you should sit around and do nothing. I think learning is a wonderful thing. I think intellectual experience. But, my son had a Rebbe in Cheder who felt that you had to daber b'limud. That means the kids had to scream. And my kid was a little baishan. And we went to the teachers meeting and he says, listen, I tried this, I tried that. Achshav tzarich onshin. You have to now punish this kid. Because he's not screaming in class. I said, he knows all the material. Torah! Don't know the facts. You have to have a bren. The Rebbe the next year, they came in, they started screaming. It was like, whoa, what's wrong with you people? He was a good Rebbe. You have to be psychotic, but otherwise, get people crazy because they want to get you crazy. The goal is to raise good adults. And some of those roads are going to be nice and straight, and some of them are going to be rocky and filled with pitfalls. But that's the goal. The goal is for us to be able to raise good kids who turn into good adults. And that's got to be our goal. Children are a bracha. My mother, Olva Shalom, when she passed away, had 60 great-grandchildren. I think now it's closer to 90. When you think about it, what she left behind in this world. One sister had a child who intermarried. One had a son who never married. One had 3 daughters, never had any children. That was my mother's family. And from here, what you leave behind in the world, the contribution that you make, and my parents sacrificed. It was not easy. It cost a lot of money. They got us a yeshiva education. It cost a lot of money. Yeah. Kids are not cheap. I would argue my parents would have had an easier life if they didn't have us. But they got married with that goal in mind. Yizku lirais banim, banim uvnei banim, oiskim b'torah u'b'mitzvos. Mitzvah Hashem. Everybody should be zeicha to find the right one. And if you've already found the right one, you should be zeicha to shalom bayis, and to figure out how to make your marriage and your home meaningful. And you should be zeicha to zeresh hakayama, and you should be zeicha that you get to see your children and your grandchildren making contributions in the world, living their lives as Torah Yidden. And that's it for our series. More to say, but we have other stuff that we got to do. Time moves on. And that's it. If you want to find out more about this show, you can go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com. And you can make a comment. You can write a letter. You could sponsor an episode. And that's it for this week. I'm Dovid Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode, and we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.